Hi, welcome to the Mad Max channel. Today we're looking at Kerbal Space Program, or KSP as some people call it. Anyway, what is it? It is a game where you're Kerbal, you build rockets, and you fly to space and do stuff. Land on moons, crash, land, and other bits. Anyway, to the game itself, you can get it on Steam, I believe, or from its own website. It is a very fun game to play. It is not like Space Engineers, it's more adulty. Basically, it's a lot more complicated. Graphically, you can mod the hell out of this game. It can take up quite a lot of resources. Anyway, typical procedure of the game, you have the sandbox where you can do whatever you want with no money issues or research and stuff, or you can have the typical gameplay scenarios and stuff like that, which obviously involves money, XP, and where your hangar buildings need upgrading and stuff like that. So anyway, we'll just pick a typical career thing. You have your base with your limited amount of pilots, space hangars, satellite arrays, which I'll explain are more important, space hangar, and your vertical launch and the launch pads and the air pads, which are all important in its own means. So, how do you build rockets? Well, you start off with your command modules, and then fuel tanks and engines, and more engines, and be eccentric with the engines. Then your separators and stuff like that. You basically just put it all together in whatever kind of form you can imagine. Now, the kind of person who would play this game, well, you would need a very small amount of knowledge on mass to thrust power ratios. Basically, if you got epoxy engine, a big ship, it ain't gonna launch. And then you would need to do the separations correctly too, which involves the space bar, or by the way, you can reconfigure all the controls, and it is actually quite a lot more controls to this game than first meets the eye. Because your standard maneuvering, you use the typical WASD, but then you have thrust maneuvering when you're trying to rendezvous with a space station. Oh yeah, don't forget you can put space stations and dock with them and stuff like that. You can also fly to a moon, land on it, and try and dock with a base you built there. But more to that in a minute. So, you put your engines to it. You set up the correct segment for the stages, because you don't want to launch a parachute and start the engines at the same time. It'd be catastrophically bad. Now, the reason why I haven't got any in-game audio at the one is it turns out that the music can be detected by YouTube's music thingy-majig, which spots that it's not allowed to go on. So there's no in-game music at the moment. Probably because I used a mod which involves music that YouTube can recognize, tragically enough. But never mind. So we'll call this rocket Boom. You pick your pilots. You can get more pilots than these here. Your typical free pilots being German, Bill and Kerman, or whatever it is. Are your free resident pilots, as you can call it. So you have three types of people: engineers, science, and pilots. Now, if you got a pilot on board, you don't need to worry about signals. If you're using an automated with a little radio box, you do need signals, especially in career mode. Now, I've got a rocket. Just use these little boosters up just to get off the ground using main engine. So, what is this game really targeted to as a person? If you're a grown-up and you happen to have a 3-year-old, I'd say yes, a 3-year-old can enjoy it for a short time being of watching Daddy blowing up a rocket, or Daddy getting a rocket into space. Rockets are an interesting thing to kids, but a 3-year-old itself wouldn't be able to control the game. I would say this is for around about 10 onwards as a recommendation on that one. Space Engineers, you can be younger, but this game is more complicated. Quite a lot more complicated. So, nearly run out of fuel, so we'll come up to next stage separation. Blow out the power rocket off, and off we go. So, you have a worldwide outside view of it. As you can see, I got some satellites and stuff like that, but you can't see any green lines on one, which would be typically the signal connections between satellites or the planet to the satellites and stuff like that. So you can control them with autopilot or control remotely satellites. Now, the game itself at the moment is using about 6 gigabyte of hard drive space, I think. Or was it more? I should have checked that beforehand. It uses quite a bit of space depending on how much you put into it in mods. Now, I've got probably twice the actual game size in mods. But you can also do mods yourself. It's not too hard, or modify a previous made mod. Using text editor, and for the images themselves, you just use a standardized imaging program with texture layers and stuff like that. But yeah, it's not actually too hard to modify or make a mod yourself. There is community pages which are dedicated towards making mods for it and continuously updating mods and adding mods onto it. Right, we've had it with this rocket here. Let's send it back where we came from in some kind of fashion. And you're probably asking yourself, well, re-entry, does that not get a bit hard? Well, I have a distinct feeling I might have used Sandbox at the moment. Or if not, I'm just cheating with not having heat issues. Right, down we go, at speed. So, in my point of view, the game is definitely worth it if you're grown up and you like the idea of landing stuff on moons and flying rockets and blowing things up. Yes, this game's good at blowing stuff up. I'll show you that in a couple of minutes. When it comes to fuel requirements and electric and oxygen for the engines and stuff like that, you get all these kind of little bits in the base game. Oh yeah, you have to scan the planets also for resources. You can mine a planet for fuel, so you could do a remote base for refueling your ships up. I do believe I'm going down a little bit quick here. Yeah, that engine wasn't going to stop us. Good thing we had that parachute. At which point, with a little time hop, I shall be a little bit closer to the ground. It is a game where you could set up a rocket to do a mission to leave this universe in the game, and you could take real life time to actually leave it. You could set up the game to run for one single mission for, just say, like a couple of years without using time warp. Yes, I know, I'm thinking of a song there. Right, these green lines, they're data lines for signal transfers. So, something I built here earlier at some point. Yes, it looks like an aircraft, and you're right with that. It is an aircraft. The theory of more engine power than wingspan. And yes, for some reason it did actually fly. So yeah, you can jump from unit to unit. So, go into the space hangar to launch something. Here is a moon base. Or base you could land on a planet. With 2 extra rovers with solar panels which work. Spoiler alert on that one. So you can use something like that, or you can use a small pod. Now, you might be saying to yourself, why is there no big super stack of rockets underneath it? Little thing on top of that engine at the bottom, being an ion engine, is a mod I made which involves generating certain different types of fuels. Fuel, oxygen, all the bits needed, power, and stuff like that. Handy little module. Probe modules, one to scan surface and all the typical other little bits it needs. Multiple solar panels. Right, that's probably the time to do a remote explosion device. As I call it, a rocket with a fail. First procedure would be put a couple fuel tanks together. Yeah, we'll have an engine. Now we need some boosters, and this is where the fun begins. Little dinky boosters, we had a couple of those. How are these? Yeah, it'll be fine. They'll hold on to the ship without ripping it apart. It'll be fine. Right, so, built a rocket. Didn't bother with a name on it. Probably won't last. Put down to minimum thrust power. Doesn't matter because we got the boosters. Yeah, well, there's nothing like sending little rockets flying around without any control. Aerodynamic issues. We ain't got a pointy nose on this. Oh, did I mention if you crash a rocket into your base, you can damage the buildings and you have to do the repair costs to repair them? No. You might be thinking, well, this rocket's heading straight there and I haven't got any aviation control whatsoever. But no. The game was nice. Right, so, rover with a solar panel. And a chair put on wrong way round. Never mind. So, yes, you can build vehicles. You can build rockets, space stations, aircraft carriers. You can pretty much build whatever you want within reason. There's nothing like putting a buggy together which runs on battery power only, seeing as I used the wrong kind of solar panel. Yes, you can travel across a planet quite quickly in a buggy, but not advisable. You'd be surprised how uneven the surfaces get, especially on the moon. Yeah. Well, anyway, seeing as I've realised I've completely drained the battery and put a solar panel that doesn't want to expand properly, I shall say, well, to that little mistake, thank you very much for watching. And do like and subscribe, and I'll catch you next time. Bye.